What's up, guys? We're taking a look at another NECA Godzilla figure today. This is one that really does it for me on a nostalgic level because it's based on the old Nintendo game Godzilla Monster of Monsters. So this was an original NES game that I never actually owned, but I'm sure I rented it enough times to have paid for it maybe more than once. And I always sucked at it as a kid too, so I don't know why I kept going back to it. But this thing is one of the NECA figures that is designed to look like the video game counterpart as well as the packaging. So we've got him here in the box for this line that has the original Nintendo artwork for the front of the box, and then it is a gatefold box where you open it up and you can see Godzilla on the inside along with the stage select screen on the other side. And then on the back we have got some product shots and a bit of a write-up. So this packaging on its own really does it for me, and this is kind of a thing for this line in general, but I'm very, very excited to tear into this guy. So let's pull him out and take a look. Alright guys, here we go, out of the package, our Godzilla Monster of Monsters video game style action figure. And like I said, this figure is one that kind of hits the nostalgia buttons for me just because of the fact that I really did play the hell out of this video game as a kid. I really, really loved it. It has appearances from some of my favorite Godzilla monsters like Godzilla. You know, that's kind of a random one that they threw in this game that kind of became incredibly popular after the fact. But I really, really dig this particular style. Not just because I loved that game, whether or not I was good at it. I just like this style. I've never bought any of NECA's video game toys until now because for the most part, I never really wanted those particular iterations of characters. But since I'm going down this Godzilla rabbit hole, we might as well get this one because he really does look pretty cool. So of course we're going to do articulation first, so we'll see how this guy moves around. Now as far as, you know, actually posing this guy, he is about what I expect. After having played with a few other Godzillas recently, this is nothing unexpected here. So the head can rotate back and forth, a little up, a little down. The jaw is articulated, which is pretty sweet, and it's very, very, I'm not going to say loose, but it's just easy to move. Like when you move it, it stays in place, but it's not hard to move either. The neck can rotate all the way around, and it does bobble side to side as well as move back and forth, so it's not just rotation. There is a diaphragm joint here, but it doesn't afford a great deal of mobility, and the big spikes on the back are going to actually rub when you do this. That's not going to stop him from moving, but it's just a point of contention there, really. So he can kind of swivel, and then he has a little bobbing back and forth, but it's very minimal. The arms can go out. You can rotate them all the way around in that socket there. We do have a hinge at the elbow, and it's just a single joint, and it moves well enough. I mean, it's Godzilla, so he's not supposed to be put into any crazy positions anyway, so I kind of take that into consideration when looking at this. So it doesn't move a great deal, but it kind of moves, you know, what you would expect a guy in a giant rubber suit to move, and I can appreciate that. And then we've got rotation at the wrists. There is nothing at his waist. I mean, there really couldn't be. The legs can swivel. There is a single joint at the knee, and mine are incredibly tight. They're really, really tight. This one was actually twisted in the package, so that might have caused some issues. They do move, but, you know, it's just really, really tight. So they don't even go back really 90 degrees, but they definitely do move. They're just still kind of stuck in place. I just have to work them out, but here we are now. So, and then we've got, down at the ankle, we've got rocker, back and forth, and then rotation. So he has, you know, exactly what I expect him to have. He's not exactly missing anything, and he's not got anything that I would want other Godzillas to really have. I think he moves well enough for what he is. So in terms of the body, and then just like with the other Godzillas, he does have a lot of tail movement. So you've got rotation at the base of the tail. This segment is rotatable. We've got rotation here, and then you do, as I think it's with all Godzillas, you have to put all of them together. So the last piece is on a final ball joint, and then it does have a bendy wire in it, and you can get a pretty good curve out of that. So, you know, that's a pretty decent bend, I'd say. So there is a lot of articulation in the tail, as is the standard, it seems, and then the rest of the body moves just about as well as I would want it to. Where this guy really does it for me is, I mean, obviously, the main draw of the figure is the way he looks. And not just because I have a big nostalgic kick when I look at this thing, I just think it looks really cool. It's very much a Godzilla design, and I believe this is just a repaint of an older NECA Godzilla that I don't have. There are still a handful that I don't have. Not that I don't have them at all, it's just I don't have them yet, so we will get to those. But in general, he is kind of your standard Godzilla look and feel. He's got the huge, more classic style spines that run down his back. And then of course the big thing about this guy is his paint job. So he's got kind of the two-tone teal and the dark black navy bluish type color, and then of course he's got the little pixelated squares that are all over him, and you can see most of that on the back half of the figure, specifically the kind of teal marbling that you've got in here, and then all over these spines that look really cool. I like the idea of that. I mean, I've seen plenty of these video game figures up close and personal. I've seen the Contra figures, and I've seen the Turtle video game figures, which that's the one NECA set I've never actually bought. And they all do this really well. So I think NECA has this look and feel down pretty well. Overall, I don't have any real QC issues with this guy. I think the sculpt is pretty rock solid. It very much looks to me like the video game adaptation. I really do like the spikes on the back. Probably my favorite piece of this, especially with that paint application. It looks very video game-esque, and this Godzilla has a very distinct look in terms of other Godzillas. In terms of the head sculpt, I think it's pretty nice. You've got those big, bright red eyes with the black pupils in there. The teeth and tongue and the inner workings of the mouth are all painted very nicely, and then we've got the black lines all over the face. So yeah, he very much looks the part. The only real issue, and I mean, it's not really a QC issue, it's just more of a paint mishap. We do have a swipe of white on the inside of his hand, which is really inconsequential. You can barely see it unless you're really looking for it. So it's there, it's worth mentioning, but it's not really anything worthwhile. Beyond that, I think everything about him is pretty sweet. We've got a lot of texture all over the body and then a lot of nice paint detail to bring out this particular look and feel. And yeah, I mean, he looks like Godzilla. He looks like Godzilla from this game. There's not a whole lot more I could ask for outside of an atomic breath effect, which, you know, we don't really get a lot of in this line. So I would have loved to have gotten an accessory with this guy, but I understand why we don't. That said, I'm going to have to figure something out because I really want this guy to be, you know, blasting something out of his mouth. So yeah, this is a pretty solid figure. It's not the easiest thing to get a hold of, at least for a quote-unquote reasonable price. I lucked into a good bargain on this guy, so that's why I have him now. He's just a slightly older Godzilla figure, and this one just seems to go for a decent bit over retail these days. So your mileage may vary on how you actually get a hold of him. But I do think he's a pretty cool figure. I dig the sculpt on this guy, and this particular look really does it for me on a nostalgic level, and then again, it looks good in figure form. Not to mention the fact that it has that awesome box. So this is the first NECA Godzilla figure that I have that the box is going to stay with me, because it actually comes in a box rather than clamshell. So I dig the overall presentation, and yeah, it's just a fun, cool figure that does it for me, takes me back to my childhood. So that's going to do it for this look at the NECA Godzilla Monster of Monsters figure. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.